Happy Saturday, marriage hackers.
Happy Saturday.
It's been a while since we've seen you, about 3 weeks, and our life is just turned upside down. Our newest grandbaby was born on August 22nd. On our last video, I took a phone call because we thought maybe she was in labor. She went into labor on August 22nd, and Elijah David was born after only 8 hours of labor. It's a beautiful experience. My son-in-law's mom and I were there in the delivery room. So today's topic is really apropos. Marriage shapes our character, but parenthood refines it in ways that we can never imagine. One teaches us the art of partnership, while the other challenges us to grow into legacy builders. Together, they don't just change who we are, they shape who we are becoming. So stay with us today as we talk about the refining attributes or effects of parenthood.
Hello, marriage hackers.
Hi guys.
Miriam and I are excited to announce what, Miriam?
That we will be starting
Gearing up
for a 10-week session for individual, couples, or group sessions.
And we will be under the mentorship of Julie and Greg Gorman, the founders of Married for a Purpose. And they have already established a system, a proven system that has over a 90% success rate. So don't you want your marriage to have more intentionality? Don't you want it to grow beyond your own expectation and imagination?
Joe and I are doing the program right now, and let me tell you, it has spawned some serious conversations that we may not have even had before. So if you want to grow in your communication, in your intimacy, or even your passion.
Yes, just all we ask is that you type in the comments, count me in. And this will let Miriam and I know who to reach out to once we begin offering our 10-week session. So now let's get into our next episode of Marriage Hacks
with Joseph and
Miriam.
Few moments redefine a marriage like the arrival of a newborn. A child doesn't just enter the world, they transform the atmosphere of a home. In the beauty and wonder of new life, your marriage, it's supposed to evolve. Love deepens, priorities shift, and 2 become 3, or 4, depending if you have twins or not. United in purpose and in legacy.
All right, now, as we always do, we're going to go into the scripture for today. And I'm going to pull it up. And the scripture is Psalms 127, verses 3 through 5. And it says, children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring, a reward from him. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them.
Okay, today these are our bullet points. We have 8 of them. 1, deepened partnership. 2, heightened communication. 3, refined responsibilities or priorities. 4, resilience under pressure. 5, sacrificial love. 6, legacy mindset. 7, renewed appreciation. And 8, spiritual and emotional growth. Now, marriage, as an introduction, marriage shapes us. But as we said, parenthood refines us. I think about with the birth of each one of our children, how Joe and I had changed with With Joshua, our very first, how we all had these plans of what kind of parents we were going to be, what we're going to do, all that kind of thing. But by the time our next child came around, our second pregnancy, because I've been pregnant 5 times, our second pregnancy, our daughter Mary went to be with the Lord. So then came Hannah. Hannah represented God's faithfulness, how he will take you out of a situation and put you into a new one. When Rachel was born, right now I'm speaking just for me. Joe has his own opinions of what each child represented. Rachel came, I was pregnant with Rachel, and there were several different things going on when I was pregnant with Rachel. I'm not going to go into it, but it was some not so good things. Some things that brought out a side of me that honestly I didn't know was there. But once Rachel was born, she was one of those children that was born smiling. And so I referred to her as my joy. And then we wanted another boy, and Stephen was born. And it's like Stephen was just the completion of the promise, because not long after, I think Rachel was maybe 6 months old or so, a friend called and said, the Holy Spirit told me to tell you that your next child will be a girl. And I was like, okay. So Rachel, excuse me, your next child will be a boy. Yeah, I'm sorry, will be a boy. And then Stephen came out, and he's our last one. So children are a blessing, and children many times, whether we realize it or not, can reflect what stage of life that we're in.
Now, what does the number 8 represent?
Completion.
Yes, and so Stephen was born on 9/8/98.
Yep.
and so, like Miriam says, like when Stephen was born, he was the
completion
of a lot of things.
Yeah, we knew that he was the last one.
And see, Stephen came at a time, because with each child, like Miriam said, each child is a blessing, but each child will mirror your strengths and your weaknesses. And so with each child, we went through a learning process, a refining process. And so by the time Stephen came, we had learned a lot. We had taken in a lot of information. And so a lot of the stumbling or searching or figuring out that we did with
the first
ones,
we didn't
do a lot of that with Stephen. And so I'm excited about this discussion, because it's gonna reveal just how much children can affect a marriage
if you allow it to,
in a positive way.
Okay, number 1, deepening partnership. You take that one, Joe.
Okay, deepening partnership. Parenthood requires a collaboration beyond romance. Romance is good, but beyond romance, sharing responsibilities like caregiving, finances, and household chores. Couples learn to operate as a true team, blending strengths and supporting weaknesses. Okay? I can say that...
I want to hear this one.
I can say that, parenthood does require collaboration, because, each one of us comes into the marriage relationship with our own idea of parenthood, based on what we went through growing up in our household. And so we saw our fathers behave a certain way towards ourselves and our siblings, and also our mother. And so in a lot of ways, we take that information and we try to get it to fit our mold. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it does not work.
And you can also, you think about the things that your parents did, and you say, I'm not going to do that. So that works both ways.
And so there's a lot of filtering going on. There's a lot of cutting away of what you learned from your childhood experiences.
Okay.
What's the next, Miriam?
Okay, heightened communication. New responsibilities require clearer, more intentional dialogue. Parenthood tests patience and teaches couples to listen actively, resolve conflicts quickly, and maintain in unity decision making. You know, that sounds so sweet.
Yeah. Now, how you gonna put that in everyday term?
Parenting does test your patience in ways that you never knew, especially when they get to be preteens and teenagers. And having 4 children in the house at one time, like we did, and there are 4 completely different personalities. Completely different. I mean, there are some things that overlap, but for the most part, they're different. And teaching us how to listen actively, I can honestly say for me, this took hold when I started homeschooling because I had to meet each child at their level. I had to make sure that each child was getting what they needed and what Rachel needed, which was color, and everything had to be bright and sunny. And what Hannah needed, Hannah was like, just give me the material, let's go. You know, that's the one way that I can say that I evolved as a parent, homeschooling 4 different children at 4 different grade levels, 4 different ages, 4 different phases, because it made me more attentive to each one of them individually. It made me know, okay, well, this may work with Rachel, but this is not going to work with Hannah. And okay, this works with Joshua, but this isn't going to work with Stephen. And so you really do have to dial in on the child. And you will often find there's some things about that child that you don't like. And oftentimes it's things about yourself.
You're talking about revealing those weaknesses in ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, our children will test us and they will
Yes.
put us in a situation where we have to deal with our weaknesses.
Yes.
And it's funny when I saw this part about, remember read the part about clearer communication. You know how children, you cannot just tell them something or ask them to do something without them saying why. And so they force you into clearer communication because you have to
But communication on their level.
Yeah.
In what way they can
you
understand
constantly have to try to answer the question why, but sometimes you have to put your foot down.
It said, because I said so.
Because I said so.
Now you go do it.
And you just do it. But then there are times their why is reasonable.
Yes,
you know,
it is.
And you want them to really understand why you are asking them to do a certain thing.
Yes.
And so it forces you to be a better communicator.
It does in many ways.
And then you can, and then that carries throughout your marriage relationship because they force you to improve on your dialogue with them. It also helps you with your dialogue with your spouse.
And the maintain unity in decision. That is something that's extremely important, because if a child knows that he or she can manipulate one parent over the other, because Joe was the yes man. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. After I went and told him no. And he would go, well, Miriam, why did you tell them no? Why did they come to you after I gave them the answer? So it got to the point where I would have to go to Joe and say, well, they asked me ABC. And he'll go, well, why did you say no? And I'll tell him why I said no. And it's like, okay, he's got to help me stick to that no. But we can talk about it later. So if that same situation comes up again, we've gotten our game plan together, so to speak. Because children will manipulate the crap out of you, and you don't even know you're being manipulated. Okay, Joe, number 3, refined priorities.
Refined priorities. Parenthood shifts the lens from individual desires to family-centered goals.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about.
Couples learn to focus on what truly matters: faith, health, legacy, and quality time. Yes, parenthood does shift the lens, because before
It should.
Yes, it
shift
should.
the lens.
It
because
should.
we can't keep saying giving concretes, and the reason is because there are some people parenthood doesn't change.
Yes.
Because they don't want to be parents. They don't want to change. They want their lives to stay the same.
Yes, and
So
this,
we're talking about the ideal.
yes, because this society right now is going through what it's going through because of parents who did not shift the lens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though these children are a product of their environment, you have to put a lot of the blame on
the parents,
on the parents, and how they were raised or not raised,
or not precisely.
Yeah.
Especially when we've got a couple of generations of young girls having babies, and they're babies themselves, and not knowing how to raise a child. I mean, it's hard enough knowing how to raise a child when you're grown. Joshua, I was 2 months short of 30 when Joshua came along, and I remember looking at him going, what the heck am I going to do with this? So I can't even imagine what it's like for a teenage girl to have a baby, still being a baby herself, or still being very immature herself, and then the young man does not stick around and she's there doing it alone.
Mm-hmm.
So how can a child raise a child?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that it can't be successful. For me to say that would be a terrible thing to say, because there have been many young girls who've had babies who have done well, that stayed in school, went to college, did something. So I'm not saying that as a general rule. I'm just making a for instance. So yeah, it should change you.
And I just want to point out something. It says, couples learn to focus. We live in a time right now where to focus on anything is very difficult.
Yes.
I mean, the enemy always tries to distract us anyway, but now with the way social media is, and people are constantly on their phones and constantly distracted, it takes a lot of effort to focus on any one and given thing. It's frustrating to me at times, because we can only do so much in a day, and there's so much that I want to do, but then I have to look at the
Work.
things that I have to prioritize the things that I need to focus on the most, even though that there are other things that I would like to focus on also, especially being grandparents now. We're grandparents. We, like Miriam said, our most recent grandson was born not long ago, and
3 weeks.
3 weeks ago, and you think about these little
people
that you do want to spend time with, but at the same time you have all of these pressing issues all around you. Life issues all around you. So it's a challenge, but it's worth it. It's very worth it to focus and take some time to build a legacy with those children.
One thing I appreciate about Joe,
children and children's children
and children's children, yeah. One thing I appreciate about Joe is, me staying at home with the kids wasn't easy for the years that I did it before they all pretty much went off to high school. And now the kids, for the most part, are gone. And I had a friend that went through a situation where she was taking care of her granddaughter, but her husband told her it was time that she went back to work because he wasn't making it. He was having difficulty, and she resented it because, like me, all she ever talked about was, when I have grandchildren, I'm going to make sure that I take care of my grandbabies. And back in January, when both my son's wife was pregnant and our daughter Hannah was pregnant, Joe and I sat down and we talked. And it's like, yeah, I didn't have many clients at the time, and I just told Joe, I said, I don't want to go out and get a job because when those babies come, I want to be there for them. And so, he was like, okay, we'll make it some kind of way. And that's what we've done. And especially with our grandbaby, what I call Nugget, being born premature, I was able to be at the hospital with our daughter-in-law, with our son, when if I had been working a regular 9 to 5, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And then when Hannah went into labor with Tansy, is what I call him, I was able to be there. I was able to drop everything and be there because of and I've picked up clients, but my clients are basically early in the morning. So I've been able to be there. And that time that I get to spend with those two babies, that's legacy. That's talking to them. That's spending time with them. That's singing to him. And those are times that can never, because they stay little for such a short time. I look at my kids, the youngest one, our kids, the youngest one is now 27, and I look at this grown man, and I can look back and see yesterday when he was a newborn.
Mm-hmm.
When each one of them were born, and now they're having their own babies. And you realize that life literally is fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
The years go by so quickly. And the times that I think of the most is some of the hard times we've gone through. Like one time our lights got turned off. This was like in 2003. And Joe turned it into an adventure. He gathered the kids together and he told them stories about growing up when he grew up, or he'd even make up stories. And then when the lights came back on, they were like, Daddy, turn the lights back off. We want more stories. Those are the times that bring you together. Those are the times that you just don't forget. I was sitting at Hannah's house with Tansy last night, and we started talking about that time the lights went out. They didn't know that the lights were cut off. They just thought the lights went out. And we literally sat there in the dark for hours with Joe telling stories, and the kids have recounted that many times. That's quality time, even in the worst of times. And what truly matters, faith, taking our kids to church, listening, because they all came up in the 90s and early 2000s, listening to Kurt Franklin in the car, riding
Down by the riverside.
And the soundtrack to the movie Holes with Shia LaBeouf, or however you pronounce it, riding in that car, just singing and laughing and talking and just building memories. We've got to do that with our children because those are the things they remember. And when Rachel turned 12 years old, well, Joe did this with both Hannah and Rachel, turned 12 years old, and Joe took her out on a date because he wanted her to know what a man was supposed to treat you like. And Stephen's first date, the girl didn't even know it was a date. He took a girl to the fair, and he and the girl are still friends now. As a matter of fact, he was one of the groomsmen in her wedding. And I said, okay, Stephen, make sure you open the door for her. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do that. And so when I dropped them off at the fairground, got back a couple of hours later, and got home, I said, oh, Stephen, did you open the door for her? Did you do this? Did you do that? She said, Mama, she wouldn't give me a chance. She looked at me and said, I can open my own door. And Stephen, you don't forget those things. Those are the things that make the biggest memories. You gotta have that quality time. And believe me, because several months ago we talked about work-life balance, and I was saying there's no such thing. You work and then there's life. But in those quality time moments, that's where you build your faith. That's where your children see how you respond to a situation. And I remember, oh gosh, this was back in 2011 or so. We were going through something really hard, and Stephen saw me, because I told y'all I'm a hand wringer. Stephen saw me wringing my hands and just kind of a distant look in my face, and he's on my face, and he said, "Mama, don't you believe? Don't you believe that God is going to take care of this?" And I had to look at him and go, "Ooh, yes, baby. I believe that God is going to take care of this." But that was because of the planting that Joe and I had done in his life. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Number 4, resilience under pressure. The sleepless nights, the financial adjustments, the different parenting styles that create pressure points. Facing challenges together builds endurance and problem-solving skills that strengthen the marriage bond. We kind of covered that.
Yeah, I was
already.
when you were talking, I said, "Oh, I already got into the sleepless nights, the financial adjustments, different parenting styles, creating pressure points, facing challenges together, build and endurance." She was covering all of it. I was just letting her talk. Problem solving skills, strengthening the marriage bond. I was like, okay, well, she's covering it all. I just let her keep going.
Well, Stephen called me earlier this week, and he said, "Mama, when I was growing up, I just thought that you and Daddy were strict, and y'all didn't want me doing things. Y'all didn't want me to have fun." And I was like, "Yeah, I know you did." And he said, "Thank you. Thank you for the upbringing that we had. Thank you for this. Thank you for that." And that's the thing that you live for.
I think back to all of the struggles that we went through together as a family unit,
and we did do it together.
Yes, and during this episode, as Miriam talked, I thought about my own childhood and how, even though things were hard, especially when I was younger, when I didn't really understand a whole lot, even though things were hard, my parents were going through hard times. For me as a child, in a lot of ways, I was in this little Disney world. I mean, this little Disneyland. Everything was fun for the most part. No cares, no worries whatsoever. Like Kuma Matata.
Kuma Matata. No worries.
Lion King.
Yeah.
And so I was just in this little bubble, and I was thinking about just when things were the most stable. That's when we lived on Cliffside in Pufftown. And all of our kids were small.
Yeah.
And
had a swing set in the back.
Set in the backyard. I mean, the yard was so beautiful, and when we lived there, things were so peaceful. And for the most part, when things were going great, I mean, it was wonderful. And I could imagine if I were a child living the way they were living, boy, like the old folks say, high cotton.
Yes, stepping in high cotton.
I would be stepping in high cotton. You know what I'm saying? And so, the way, Miriam gave that story about me telling them a story when we were in the dark. The way that you
approach
and respond to circumstances, especially as a child, as a caregiver, it means the world to your children.
Yes, it does.
It means the world to them, because what it does, it paints a picture of safety, of security, of stability for your children, just by the way that you respond
to adversity,
to a situation. Because in their little minds, they don't know, at least not yet, what reality that you are facing.
And they don't need to know, because they're children. Children don't need to be involved in adult issues.
Yeah, they don't
adult
need
situations.
Yes, they don't. They really don't.
Okay, sacrificial love.
Oh, sacrificial love. Okay. Parenthood transforms love from emotional passion to practical service. Daily acts of selflessness, changing diapers, working late, giving each other breaks, embody love in action. You know, that's one thing. Miriam, while she was taking care of the kids, changing diapers and doing everything at home, if I had to work late, I work late. If I had to put in overtime, I put in overtime. I'm still that way today. I still do.
Yes.
I do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes to get the job done.
To get the job done. And one thing that we talk about Stephen a lot, because Stephen is one of the ones. Like, okay, so that story in the Bible when the lepers were healed, and they had that one that came back and said, "Thank you." Stephen is that one that came back, that runs back. Now, I'm not saying that our other children are not appreciative.
Not yeah.
That's not true. But
he does it.
But
quite
he
often.
has voiced it over and over again. Okay, because so Stephen, growing up, before he understood the sacrificial love that I was giving the family, he resented how I was gone all the time, how I wasn't there, and I missed a lot of activities that went on because I was out working, and because I was.
And I would tell them that Daddy's out working, making money to take care of us.
Yes, and because of the sacrificial love. I mean, it hurt me that I couldn't be there at every activity, every award ceremony.
But when he could, he did.
Yes, but whenever, like Miriam said, whenever I could, I was there. And excuse me. But he's come back to me. He said, "Dad, I didn't understand. I'm gonna let you know." He even told me. He said, "I was angry. I was mad. But then I understood.
I thought you didn't love me.
I thought you didn't love me. I thought you didn't care. Blah blah blah. And I sat there and I was like." Which reminds me, me and Stephen used to go out on a regular basis. We used to plan times to go out and eat and sit and talk. But life. But anyways, we'll get back. Plus, he just had a new baby, so he'll get back. But anyway, in one of our sit down moments, he just told me. He said, "Yeah," he said, "I'm sorry. I understand now," and that meant a lot to me.
It does. And I remember when Hannah was in college and she started to really truly have boyfriends and stuff, and a lot of the guys at A&T didn't have folk in their lives, didn't have their fathers in their lives. And she would talk about how her daddy worked and her daddy did this and took care of the family and this and that. And they were very intimidated. And she and David have been married for just over 2 years now, 2.5 years, something like that. And he's taken on a second job after his full-time job, even before the baby came, and is working. And I looked at her and I said, "You got a man like your daddy. That's what you wanted, a hard-working man." And David reminds me so much of Joe with the work ethic. And Rachel has said point blank, "I want to be a stay-at-home mom. I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to be a stay-at-home wife." That's what she told me the other day. "Mama, I want to be a stay-at-home wife, even before the babies come, so I can start establishing that home." And they have both referred to what they saw me do. Like when Joe would get off of work, they wanted to jump on him. I go, "Nope, give your daddy time to calm down. Just give him time to sit down," that kind of thing. And sometimes to get away, we would literally have to leave on a late Friday night, and we'd have to be back on Sunday. But when we took those little family vacations, the kids still talk about those vacations to this day. It was just good times. You got to spend that time. Okay, number 6, legacy mindset. Raising children forces couples to think long-term about values, faith, and inheritance. Parenthood refines vision, moving the marriage from short-term happiness to generational impact. And that's something that Joe and I have spent a lot of time talking about, because one of the things that we say is that we've got many more years behind us than we have in front of us. And, I'm not patting us on the back and saying that we were super parents, nothing like that. But we gave up a lot for me to stay home. Now, we've got a 401k, we've got a savings, we've got all this, we have all that, but we could have had so much more if I had continued to work. But we made a decision. And so now we're at a time in our lives where I'm 63, Joe is 60, and we're looking at that whatever, however long that road is. And our decisions have come home to roost, so to speak. So we're having to think in terms of, okay, we've raised the children, we've shown them how to do money, we've shown them how to do this, we've shown them faith, we've shown them values, and we've got a little bit that we hoped for them to inherit, but we have to take care of ourselves now, so to speak. So being a parent really does refine the vision, and saying moving the marriage from short-term happiness to generational impact. And so that is what Joe and I are in the midst of right now. We're trying to build a legacy.
Yes.
Besides the legacy that we already have of faith and values and those things.
Yes, and we've over time we have been building it brick by brick.
Brick by brick.
We have been building it, and
it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not
because he ain't as young as he used to be.
It's not easy. And I'm gonna make a statement, but I'm qualifying this statement before I make it. That we have never been, and we will never be the type parents that will tell our children, "You owe us."
Never.
Because of what because of what we have, what
we chose. What we chose.
You owe us. Okay. That will never come out of our mouths. Is that our children?
Even with the stuff we continue to do for them.
That was our duty to them as their parents.
Because we brought them here.
Yeah, because we, yes. Now, with that said, that's why I said I want to qualify. With that said, as that scripture that I read earlier about how children are arrows, like in the hand of a warrior. Not that we are going to I guess the best word, solicit help from our children at any time if we needed it. But we know that they are our arrows because because of the way we raised them. Okay? That if we needed
they would be there.
They have been formed and shaped in a way to prosper, to help us to prosper in whatever direction that we're trying to go in. And because of the way, how the arrow, when the arrow is formed, if it's formed correctly, the shaft and the little part on the end,
the
feathers in the end, if it's formed and shaped and crafted correctly, when you aim it at a target and you launch it, it's going to hit that target. Okay? So because of the way that they have been raised, if we needed it,
they would be there.
They would be there, and they would help us in whatever area we needed that we needed help in. And they have even voiced that to us. Not that we have said, "Hey, we need help. We need this. We need that." Especially my son Stephen, Dad. I just want you to know when we get, basically when they get, we get.
Yeah.
But it's not. And it's not just Stephen. It's the mentality of really all of them. Even my oldest son, Joshua, he's even said the same thing. Well, Dad, when this happens, blah blah blah. They keep us in mind because we raised them in a certain way. Okay. And it's not like we say you owing us. I'm not saying
because your children don't owe you.
No, I would
anything.
never say that to my children. You owe us. You owe us anything. No, it was our duty as parents,
bringing you into this
world to take care of you, to provide for you, and to give you the best upbringing in the best environment that we could.
There's in that movie Fences, and Joe and I have referred to that movie so many times. Even though Denzel Washington was ass in that movie. When his son looks at him and says, "Why don't you like me?" And Denzel, his character, says something to the effect of, "It's my responsibility to clothe you, to keep a roof over your head, the roof over your head, that kind of thing. Nobody's ever said I had to like you." And that scene just really struck me because, like Stephen went through his time of anger, but now has come to, I understand, since they've had a child, has now come to an understanding of it. All that young man wanted was love.
Yeah.
That for whatever reason, Denzel Washington could not show him in the way he needed it or would not. Because his character said, I kept a roof over your head. I did this and I did that. And that kind of reminds me of the difference between Joe and me. Joe is an active service person. I'm active service in that, I'm the active service person in that if you love me, you help me. And I've told y'all in the past, I take care of Joe, I make sure his food is ready, I do this, I do that. For me, that's showing love. That's showing love. And, maybe for Denzel Washington's character, that was the amount of love that he was capable of showing. But our children need to know they can come to us. Like, Stephen tells me a whole lot more than he should. Not as much since he's gotten married. And our daughter Rachel, she comes to me with the slightest little thing. And that's good, because when the kids are growing up, you are their parent. It's like, that old saying, I ain't your little friend. But when they get older and they start going into areas of their lives or starting chapters in their lives where, like, Stephen, or mama so-and-so because he's married, or daddy so-and-so because he's seeing things, and you can establish somewhat of a friendship with your children. And I think that in a lot of ways is where I am with our kids, especially Hannah, since she's the first girl to have children. We laugh and we joke, and Rachel and I laugh and joke about female things and growing up, all that sort of thing. Okay, renewed appreciation.
Okay, renewed appreciation. Witnessing a spouse as a parent unlocks new admiration and respect. A husband may see the strength and tenderness of his wife as a mother. A wife may admire the protection and guidance of her husband as a father. Now, I will say, yes, I can say, I'm just going to speak on my admiration towards Miriam, and she can speak on hers towards me.
But, what admiration?
But I saw Miriam make sure that our children were always clean and kept,
Hair
and
done.
Always fed. And I was so proud of the way that whenever, now I think about this church praise assembly, because that's with the picture in my mind when she would have all the kids and they were small and they were all clean and but the comments from the other women was like, "Oh, your children always look so good. They're always so well behaved.
Yeah.
They always, and that was Miriam. That was all Miriam.
Oh, baby, that's sweet.
Yeah. And now there came a time when, like, for years I cut my son's hair. I made sure their hair was right, and Miriam would make sure the girls' hair
always
was right. So it was my job to cut their hair and to make sure they looked right. They didn't look crazy going out, and it was her job to make sure the girls looked right as far as hair. Now Miriam made sure everybody's clothes looked right, but I just did the hair thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the way I saw the way that she disciplined them, the way that she showed affection, the way that she provided like a healing touch when they were going through stuff. Yeah, that goes a long way in a relationship in the way that you see your spouse.
It's so sweet, baby. And for me, I know my father was an alcoholic. So a lot of daddy's time when he got off work, he was drinking. But there were the times that he was sober, and he would take me fishing. My daddy had a boat, and he would take me fishing. And the times that he took me to Carowinds and King's Dominion and all those kind of things. I look back on those times with my daddy, and I'm just like, yeah, that was my daddy, the time that he spent with me. And as Joe said, when he had the time when he wasn't working, he spent with the kids. There was one particular, was it called Winter Jam or something, that Joshua wanted to go to. We didn't have the money to go where you could stay in a hotel and all that. But on a Saturday night after Joe got off work, we packed up food, and in the back of the car, because I don't think we had the one van. Yeah, we had the van, the red van then. And Joe drove with Joshua to where this thing was taking place, and they slept in the back of the van. And I heard Joshua's wife say that that's one of Joshua's favorite memories of his dad. And the way that he is and was willing to work to keep me home so that our kids could have the lives that we didn't have. Because, you always hear about, I want my kids to have things I didn't have. Yeah, that's good, but you want them also to have the life, the love and stuff that you didn't have for whatever reason. And I give Joe credit. He showed the work ethic. He showed the children the work ethic, because my mama would always say, my daddy would always say, you don't work, you don't eat. That's what daddy always said. And Joe was always out there and is still out there working. He's an excellent provider. Yeah, lights sometimes got turned off. We lost a house to foreclosure 1,000 years ago. We lost a car to repossession. But we still stayed together, and we still kept it together. And even though it made him stumble, he didn't fall, because he knew that he had a responsibility for us.
Well, even the Bible says that a righteous man falls 7 times but gets back up again.
Yeah.
I just praise God for giving not just me the strength, but us the strength.
Yeah.
To stand back up each time.
Each time.
Yeah.
Every time. Because sometimes it was like we were falling more than we were getting up. It's like, shoot. But I see the difference in our children. I see the difference. I see Stephen as a father, Hannah as a mother, watching her. I see Rachel in all of her stumblings, and I see Joshua even with his problems and the issues that we're having with him. I still see it. I see it. And the word says what? Raise a child in the way they should go. When they get old, they will not depart. Mm-hmm. It says when they get old. In other words, they're going to send you through stuff just like we sent our parents through stuff. But you raise them the way they should go, they're going to find a way back. Okay. Mm-hmm. Number 8, spiritual and emotional growth. Parenthood polishes character, teaching humility, patience, grace, and the reliance on God. Children often become instruments of growth that mold parents into compassionate, faith-driven individuals. Once again, we covered that.
Yeah, we covered a whole lot of this stuff in this conversation already. Yes. It's funny to see our children as like a polishing rag, but that's
and
what
they're still polishing.
But that's what they're doing. They're polishing. Like this says, polishing our character. Teaching humility.
Yeah.
Patience,
and
grace,
discovering things about yourself. Like I said, the thing about some of the things that we see in our children that we don't like are things that we've seen in ourselves that we don't like. Our children in so many ways are a mirror.
Now what's funny that it seems like the children that you have the most problem with are the children that are the most like you.
That, my friends, is scary.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary because one particular child, and Miriam already, she knows. The reason why is because just like me. But I still don't like it.
I've said that about a couple of them.
Yeah. And so, so we can see ourselves in each one of our children. And whenever we start seeing ourselves, a lot of times it'll rub us the wrong way. But we're like, oh, but that's you. You the same way. Sometimes the Holy Spirit has to nudge you.
Holy Spirit goes, see?
But that's you. That's the way you are.
Yeah. And we plant seeds in our children. I remember Rachel was 18, not quite 18 months old. And Joe and I were standing in our first little house. And I was putting them in the car. And I was just arguing at Joe. And he was arguing at me. And we were just going back and forth. And I was determined I wasn't going to lose that argument. And Joe was like, we ain't going to talk about this anymore. And I just kept on going. And I remember Rachel's little face watching me. Woo! That seed was planted and it bloomed. And the first time that seed reared its head, the Holy Spirit took me back to that moment. And I was like, oh. I couldn't get mad at anybody but myself. I couldn't get mad because they soak up
Miriam's favorite term
thing they do
is that's the pot calling the.
That's the pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah, she's there all the time. That's the pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it is. But in
conclusion,
I know we've been going on for a good little while here. Reinforce. This wait a minute.
Right here, reinforce.
Wait.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. So, parenthood doesn't weaken marriage. That's the main point.
It shouldn't.
It polishes it. It polishes it. It's shaping two individuals into a stronger, wiser, and more unified team for life and legacy. That's what it should do.
That's what it should.
Okay. And marriage should encourage couples to embrace the refining process
with gratitude.
Knowing each challenge is shaping their union for greater purpose.
Yeah.
For greater purpose.
I know this has been several years ago. I think it was for basically our 25th anniversary or something. I remember a post that Rachel wrote because she used the wrong form of there. I know that's petty, but I'm a homeschooler. And she said something to the effect of my parents' 25th wedding anniversary. They never broken up. And they've always kept it together. And that really struck me. That our children do look. They do watch us. They do see things. Because Rachel used to say, Mama, I don't like the way you and Daddy talk to each other. Sometimes y'all are just mean. And I'm sitting there going, mean? What are you talking about? And it takes me back to that episode of Andy Griffith that I always love to mention, where there was a town couple that they were just mean to each other. They were always fussing at each other, going at each other. And Andy was trying to make sure to teach them how to be nicer to each other. And the nicer they were to each other, the meaner they were to people in Mayberry. And it got to the point where the people didn't want to be around them. If we could find that clip, it would be great for you to be able to put that in there. But, if you can't, don't worry about it. But so they got to be such pains in the butt for the people in town that Andy intentionally got them into a fight and got them back into their vein. And then Andy said, well, I'm going to go. And they were like, well, it's so good. You need to come back by. And I just told Rachel, I said, Rachel, you got to realize your daddy and I have our own way of communication. Yeah. We have our own brand of communication. When Joe says something to me that I don't like, don't raise your voice at me. Don't start with me. And he'll have something to say to me too, but there's just a certain way that we speak to each other. And I would love to say it was lovey-dovey, coochie-coochie. It ain't. So... All right, so y'all, that's our take on parenthood and how it changes you.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It really took me back to some fond memories
Yes.
of our children, and even looking at my grandchildren now, it really stirs up a lot of those old feelings.
Yeah.
When Miriam brought each one of our children home from the hospital, and it's just nothing like it. I mean, it's very special.
And our oldest, I call him Reese. Our oldest Reese, he's our oldest grandchild, Reese. He's 8, and just seeing the way that 8-year-old mind works, and revisiting those times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's at our house every day, spends several nights a week here, and I just look at him and I think, oh, you are your daddy? But, just like marriage has chapters, childhood has chapters, and we really do have to enjoy every chapter. Every chapter.
So, as always, if anything in this episode inspired you, or just taught you something, opened up your mind about something, please comment and share those thoughts.
And share the video,
Yes.
and like.
Yeah, share and like the video, and just also keep in mind about our journey as we are becoming certified marriage coaches. We would love to have you all
Join us in that
join us
journey,
in our,
just like you've joined
yes,
us here.
in our 10-week sessions. Like we said, individual or group sessions. We would love to see you be a part of that, and so that we can strengthen our marriage together. Marriages together. So until the next time,
Y'all.
have a blessed and prosperous day.
Bye-bye.